Hey, beautiful souls. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm just doing a quick live. Hopefully, the mic is not too loud. This is the first time I'm using the mic with this setup. Just wanted to address a couple of things. I've been noticing things for a while now, and I've been called to bring them up a few weeks ago. I refrained from it because I know it's going to ruffle a few feathers either between the audience or readers. And so I've been ignoring it. And now's the time for me to go ahead and just come out with it and talk about a couple of things. So we need to be mindful of who we're listening to when it comes to readings, right? Paying attention to what it is that they're saying and doing. So I don't watch a lot of readers. There are a few readers that I do watch, and I think they're phenomenal. But one in particular, I noticed got really upset and shut their comments off. And this is somebody who does not claim to be psychic. Uh, that's fine. That's their prerogative. They do stories. So they feel that they're just a storyteller, but they're using divination tools. Okay. So oracle cards, tarot cards, sometimes charms, and calls upon the universe to answer questions during readings. So you can't really say your stories are fictional when you're using divination tools and calling upon the universe to answer questions as you're doing a story, as you call it. You can do it, but you're they're not really your stories then. They're not really fictional. You're pulling on people's real, true stories, things people are going through. And if they get upset and make a comment that makes the reader feel like they're being attacked, or the storyteller, however they want to call themselves, then shutting down the comments is saying, I don't want to listen to you, but yet you want the audience to listen to your stories. So it's kind of a tug pull situation because you want to claim they're just stories, fictional, but you're using divination tools. So readers have to be really careful of that because we are not in control. We are actually the vessel from spirit to you. So they're not our stories. They're stories that are being pulled from spirit for us to read to you and tell you what you need to know. If you want to say it's a fictional story, then you really shouldn't be using divination tools and calling upon the universe. Okay. Confirmation. Thank you, Spirit. So I just want people to be mindful of that between the audience and the readers. Of course, we want to rule out the bots, the scammers, the trolls. But if people are making comments because they're relating to that story, that's because the universe has pulled that story out. So it's really not your story. And I kind of feel it's rude to shut the comments off and shut people out, but you want them to still listen to you because you don't want your holidays ruined. Just one point, okay? Phenomenal storyteller. Whether they feel they're psychic or not, their intuition is really strong. It's really on point. They do read the cards well, but I don't agree with somebody that's shutting people out because, people really come to tarot because they're looking for answers. They're upset. They're having problems in their life. They're having problems with their relationships. And when we're pulling this information and then shutting them down, saying, well, it's just fictional. It's just fictional. No, it's really not. Okay. So don't use the tarot cards. Don't use the oracle cards, right? Don't use the charms. If you are a storyteller, sit, write your story, come on YouTube and tell it. Then you can say it's a fictional story. But when the universe is involved, you're not only just disrespecting the audience, you're disrespecting universe because they're not your stories. And I know that's probably going to burn somebody up, but it is what it is. I've been nudged to do this. I've been trying to refrain from doing it for a few weeks, and I'm having things happen to where it's okay, I need to come on and do it. So that's one aspect of what I've seen and what I've been pulled on to bring up. Here's another one. So I've noticed a couple of readers upset because they feel that they're losing audience, right? They're losing subs. Well, we can't look at that as a bad thing, okay? Because we can all learn from each other. We all have something different to offer up to the YouTube audience, okay? So if you've had subs for a while and you start noticing some of them disappearing, think of it as a good thing. Think of it as they've learned what they needed to learn from you. Now they've moved on to somebody else they're learning something from. So, for instance, I know I've been watching different readers for a long time. And over time, I find myself not connecting as much. And that's because I've learned that lesson. So I would never call any names out, but so there are readers that do pull on a lot of third-party situations. And third-party situations can be anything, but I would mostly say in this situation, the third party situation is usually another lover, right? There's another person in the situation with two other people. And so if you find that you're not connecting with that anymore, that's a good thing. That means you've learned the lesson. And now you're actually above that, right? You're not part of third party situations anymore. That's a good thing. So now you're moving on to another reader that's taking you to a different level. So that's how we have to view it, is not any one reader can keep the same audience for years, and you shouldn't, because we all learn from each other. So here's another thing. I've been getting downloads and visions of the spiritual community, the readers, the channels, and where it's going in the future. Okay. So it's going to get to a point to where there's not going to be a lot of money made from it. Okay. And it really shouldn't be. Okay. I know that, we all like to have all the views. We like to be able to be compensated for the energy we're putting in. I'll be the first to admit, okay, I personally have had this channel for about 3 years. I have like cards galore. This is my second. I had a tablet. It dropped. It still works, but it's not great. Okay. I have now an actual laptop. I have the microphone, I have the desk, all this stuff that I've purchased has come solely out of my pocket. Truthfully, the only money I've made is from one donation, okay, which I was very thankful for. And I've had one payout from YouTube. So total $500. How much have I put into what I've done? I can't even count, right? But this is something that I'm called to. So this is something that I plan on continuing to do, whether I'm making money or not. So it is going to be important for people to know that spirituality is not just about the payout. A lot of what we do is considered charity work. So people who have made a lot of money on YouTube doing readings, not the same people are going to be making that kind of money, right? Because you're now finding people coming onto YouTube and they're connecting with people without divination. So one, for example, and I hope I don't hack her name up, but she does her readings from her car. I have not seen her use any cards or anything. Jadina, I hope I didn't mess that name up, Jadina. And then you have Brittany, the cosmic wifey. She does use divination, but they're not pushing for donations. They're not, constantly pushing for subs and pushing for likes and this and that. If you feel that you're doing that, find yourself doing another job and not just doing spiritual work, because I can tell you right now, going into 2025, I do feel it's going to be different. We need to be more focused on getting the message out and waking people up. We don't want them stuck to these channels, because what ends up happening is they end up listening to these readings that really don't resonate with them. Third party situations, black magic, all that jazz. You don't want them soaking up that information because it has nothing to do with them, and that ends up happening. So I know that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers, but that's kind of where I see things going. And maybe it's best to keep a daytime job and do your spirituality work. Do I think we should be compensated? Yes, because there is one reader that does like to constantly ask for donations. They're constantly in some sort of situation that they need to pull themselves back up out of. And I feel, if that reader's having a hard time and they're constantly going through tower moments, then maybe it's time to take a step back and not do readings for the public and focus on themselves, because you shouldn't always need to be on YouTube asking and peddling for donations, because you're constantly getting yourself in a jam, right? Kind of like, would you go to a hairstylist where their hair's cut crooked? Or, you know what I mean? Would you want them cutting your hair? No, you wouldn't. We all are learning and going through ascensions and learning processes. So I think, it's okay if a reader's having a tough time. I've had plenty of times where I've wanted to do readings, but I know that the moon cycles and some of the retrogrades affect me. So, and there's another point. There's people that get upset when people try to make comments for suggestions. Prime example, microphones. People, it is a real thing to hear people breathe, hear people swallow, hear their stomachs grumble. People hearing that is a real thing that, bothers their sensory system. So I'll be the first to admit I have that issue. I'm very sensitive to hearing somebody who might have a cut, or if they're bleeding, or they talk about they got a paper cut. I get pains up my thighs. And that's a good thing. So if people are sensitive to hearing you breathe in the microphone, or, take a drink of water and hear you gulp, right? Instead of, poking at the audience who's there to listen to you, maybe take on some of the suggestions, like push the microphone, away, turn the volume down yourself rather than poking at the audience, right? Because if your audience isn't growing and you're not listening to your audience, why should they listen to you, right? Why should people subscribe to you? To me, it's a two-way street, right? You have to listen to your audience just as much as you want them listening to you. Black magic. So this is kind of like the last topic I wanted to bring up. So black magic, it is a real thing. People don't understand it. They don't understand that their thoughts, their words, it does go out into the universe and it does conjure up negative things. Okay. I have witnessed it many times with people that are around me. Okay. I have one person in particular, and he is, I've known him for many, many, many years, and we are like a twin to each other. And I've tried explaining to him how black magic is real. So he made a comment a few weeks ago. I won't repeat it, but it had something to do with passing, right? Wanting somebody to pass. And he was very angry. And I said to him, be very careful about what you're throwing out, okay? Because that boomerangs, and it will boomerang back your way. And he said, well, that's fine. It's okay if it does. Well, a day ago, somebody on his side of the world, his side of friends, passed away suddenly. So it hits home. I just want people to be very mindful of that. It is a very true thing. Another person that he knows, so I'm known as the truth teller, right? I'm the one who's open and will speak truth. That's what I do. Someone else in his vicinity didn't like hearing something that I had told them. So they came back at me with a really nasty comment. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay, that's fine. Well, 3 months later, she busts her leg up. She busts her ankle up. It's real. it happens, people. It does. Years before that, and it all revolves around this one man, okay? And I'm hoping that he's getting it, that it's real, and people do need to be mindful about what they're speaking, what they're thinking, and their anger and their hatred towards people, because it does boomerang. It may not boomerang back on them specifically, but it will hit somebody around them. It's a real thing. Don't play with it. There was another person years ago that tried to accuse me or say that I was part of something that was very horrific. It was something that had happened to a lady in her house. She was attacked. I'll leave it there. And because that lady knew this man that I knew, I tried to step up and help find, this person that did this. But because the group of girls around this gentleman were so into him and, in awe of him and listened to everything he said, they felt that I was the enemy. And truthfully, here I was trying to help a woman I had never even met, only because I knew something terrible had happened to her. And I wanted to step up and be who I am and help. Okay. So I like to help people. That's what I do. That's why I'm on here. That's why I spend all this money. I force myself to come on camera and talk. But many years later, after she tried to say I was probably part of what happened to that lady in her house, well, she got caught up in something herself, and she ended up getting plastered all over the news for something she did. So a little too big for her britches, so to speak. So like I'm saying, you have to be careful again with how you approach people, and we all need to listen to each other and be mindful, and not shut people down for our own, selfish reasons, like I was saying, jabbing at people because they don't want to hear you breathing in your microphone. They don't want to hear you drinking. And instead of you trying to go, okay, well, I've had like 50 comments on that. Instead of jabbing at your audience every time you say you need to take a drink, oh, now's your cue to turn the volume down. No, maybe it's time for you as the reader to say, okay, what is it I can change to help this situation, right? So it's a two-way street, okay? Just like I know there's a lot of bots, scammers, trolls, just saying nasty comments. But if people have legitimate complaints, take a step back. Let's not be triggered. Let's listen to the audience and see what we can do, because without the audience, you don't have a channel. So it's a two-way. We can't expect them to listen to us and what we have to say and want to come to our channel if we're not willing to listen to you. So those are just a few things. I will say, I did get a message for somebody. I don't know who. I got it last weekend. And I've been meaning to come on and tell somebody, but Spirit wouldn't let me until I did this. Which I have to tell you, I have 2 placements in Libra, and I like to make sure everybody around me feels comfortable. And so this is one of my lessons, is coming on and not being so worried about what other people are going to think or if they get triggered, because the reality is Some people need to be triggered. And if they are being too triggered, then they need to take a step back and say, okay, well, maybe there's something I need to be learning. Okay. Because us as readers, we're human, we're still learning, and we're here together connecting with you. Okay. We're not against you. So if you ever feel like a reader is seemingly to be above and they're not going through tower moments, they're so full of shit. They are so full of shit. We all do. We all do all the time. As a matter of fact, I had one Friday, and if I told you that story, you would probably be like, what the hell? But anyway, I did get a message. It was last Saturday morning, in the witching hour. I was woken up by an owl. So there was an owl right outside somewhere around my house, and it was hooting. And so I noticed it was hooting twice. So it would, do hoot, hoot, right? It would be in twos. And so I'm like, okay, I'll make a mental note of that. So when I get up in the morning and I start drinking my coffee, I'll start, making my notes on, okay, there's an owl that hooted. But as I was laying in bed, because it woke me up, it was funny. I'm like, okay, all right, 2 hoots, got it. I'll make a note. I'll start researching. Then I heard it doubling down. Clear as day, doubling down. I'm like, okay, doubling down. Okay, double. 2 hoots, double. Oh, okay. Full moon in Gemini, the twins. Peaks tomorrow tomorrow around 4 a.m. We're in the energy now, which is probably why I'm here doing this sort of spiritual push on some of the things I'm seeing. That peaks tomorrow at 4 a.m. And so that's the twins. So I'm like, everything's in doubles. Okay. Doubling down. So when I started, well, let me take a step back. The owl hooting twice. So I don't know who this is for, but know that this is a sign of encouragement to be patient and trust that all will work out as it should. So if somebody out there is worried about something not working out, have trust and patience, okay? Something is going to be working out for you. Where I think the doubling down came in is I think somebody out there, was thinking about repeating something or reiterating something. So doubling down can be a risky move, right? You may not want to repeat that. You may not want to reiterate that. So if you've said something to somebody and you're not sure they heard it, or if you've warned, so I kind of got something about warning somebody. You may have warned somebody about something and maybe they didn't listen. Don't worry about it. Don't go back in and try and repeat yourself, because in the morning when I was making the notes, there was a crow outside and it did one call. And the one call, crows, how they communicate to each other, one is like a hi. And then when I was Googling the calls of a crow, it pulled up. As a matter of fact, I think I still have it. It pulled up, one call is a hi. And where is it? I think I still kept it. Yeah. It skipped over 2 calls. So it went from 1 call to 3 calls to 4 calls. And it completely skipped over 2. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting message. So a crow calling once is just a hi. 3 times it's displeasure or danger. 4 times means they're being territorial. So I think the message here for somebody is, if you've warned somebody, or if you've said something, if you've tried to convey something, don't double down on it, because they might feel that you're being territorial towards them, is kind of what I was getting. Right. So right. So repetition is like sending a message to just attract attention, right? Being territorial. So don't feel that you need to reiterate something that you've done. You've said it, let it go. All will work out as it's planned. Yeah, I think that was it. So I don't know who that's for, but it was for somebody. I just didn't get a chance to get it out. Yeah, I think that was it. All right, so hopefully people didn't get too triggered by this. I didn't really want to give this message out, but I had to. I've been trying to do it for 3 weeks, and truthfully, I was trying to avoid it. I would have rather been able to avoid it, but spirit wasn't letting me. So the message is out. Hopefully we all can start listening to each other and not shutting each other down, and understanding when we are messing with divination tools that we are not in control. It is not our story. It is your story, and it's universe helping us to convey the story to you, what they want you to know. And that's it. Much love and light. I hope this was helpful. I will talk to you soon.